How's it going, guys? It's Poetry Side, and welcome back to an episode of the Dutch Return campaign, Europa Universalis 4. Tunis has actually grown quite a bit. I was just looking in between videos. They've actually grown quite a good bit. Man, I love coffee. My mom, for Christmas, got me a big 32-ounce mug of coffee. Oh my god, Ottomans, I hate you so much. Got me a big 32-ounce mug of coffee. And that was like one of the best gifts she's probably ever got me. I'm slightly kidding, but no, I was like, I told her I didn't even really need one. I had a smaller mug. It was like only 12 ounces or something, and she was like, nah, I'm gonna get you this. And then she got me it, and I was like, I'm probably not gonna use it. And I started using it, and literally after the first time, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm never gonna use the other one again, because it keeps the heat in a lot better than the other one. And it also, because it's like a metal one, it's a nice one. You know, it's not just like a cheap plastic one. And beyond that, it's bigger. So I find that funny that I went back on that basically instantly. Anyways, last video we started talking about something that I want to continue talking about. The idea of languages being not necessarily something that I feel should be focused on for usefulness and stuff. And I feel like I might have come across as a little bit like braggy or something. I did not mean to come. If I did come across that way, I didn't mean to come across that way at all. In fact, I want to try to do the opposite. I want to basically make it clear, like, I don't think that necessarily everyone should take the same approach that I do. Everyone has different ways of approaching languages and whatnot. Everyone has sort of like different things they care about when they're thinking about what language they want to learn. I mean, you know, when in terms of like people that really care about language and stuff, because like obviously, you know, when you're in school you're required to take it. Now, pretty much anywhere in the world at this point, whether in Europe or America or whatever. But when you're thinking about what language you want to learn. Once you get to college or whatever, if you're gonna try to major in a language or in, you know, languages in general, or be a linguist or whatever, it's like, you know, everyone has different things they think about, but and I find that interesting, of course. But why did you guys get? That's annoying. I really don't like that. I don't know, like, I think one of the biggest things is, like, I just keep saying, like, I've gotten so much worse at speaking on video recently. I need to get back into practice of doing it more often. I think one thing that I do not like in any situation is language shaming. What do I mean by that? Lots of times, people, I feel like, will say, "Oh, why are you learning that? Just because everyone else is doing that and whatnot." And not whenever I hear that, I think, "Wow, that's real annoying." Like, there's no reason to ever shame someone from learning another language for any reason, because it's literally there's no downside. It is just. If you're learning any language, it's going to be useful. If not, even if it's just because it, you know, gives you a different perspective on things, or makes you understand English better, if that's assuming that's your first language, you know, whatever your first language is. There's literally no reason to ever shame someone for learning another language. You may be like, what do you mean? I've never heard of someone doing that. Well, so this might just be like I don't know. This might just be like a specific thing to specific viewpoints. But occasionally I've had people that are like, why are you learning Spanish? Everyone else does that. That's so unoriginal. And so first off, that always offends me. I'm like, why wouldn't I? First off, it's like literally the most useful language to know in the US. It is the only one that you're basically regularly going to interact with. For instance, if you're in, you know, let's say, if you're in if you're in, like, what's a good example? I'm looking at the globe right now. If you are in France or Germany, either of those. Let's say Germany. If you're in Germany, what is, besides English, because English is the trade language, the most likely languages that you're probably going to learn, I'm sort of guessing right now. I'm sure there's actually a couple of German people watching this. Feel free to correct me. But I'm assuming that the most common languages that people would learn in Germany are going to be like French, because France is right there. It's a big economy. It's, it's sort of like the behind English and maybe Spanish. It's one of the most spoken languages in Europe and the world to a large extent. And this is sort of a Eurocentric view, I recognize. Obviously, there's Chinese and stuff as well. But in Germany, I'm assuming that out of the other languages in Europe, I guess I should specify, after English, you're probably going to learn, like, French. You might learn Polish. You might learn, like, Danish or Dutch as well. But you're probably not going to jump, it's probably a lot less common to find people taking Japanese or Russian even. Russian probably still is actually kind of up there. Or like Italian, I'm assuming there's a lot more like, or Spanish for that matter. Like, I'm assuming it's a lot more common to find French speakers, people who speak French as a second or third language or whatever in Germany than it is to find Spanish speakers, or Turkish speakers. Oh, what? Austria just inherited the throne of Brandenburg. That's actually hilarious. Probably shouldn't affect us too much. That's sort of what I mean, is that if, in the US, the language that I'm gonna, if I'm ever, out of all the times I'm interacting with other people, 90% of those times, it's going to be Spanish. 90, maybe 95% of the time that I meet any other language speaker, it's going to be Spanish. Literally, like 10 or 15% of our population is native Spanish speakers, or second generation speakers that are bilingual. It is like so much more useful than any other language by orders of magnitude. That Spanish is just the go-to, but it's the go-to because of practical reasons. It's not like, and so that's why whenever people are like, and lots of times it's people who aren't like Americans, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone in particular or any other like group of people, but lots of times and I don't assume that people most of the time think this. Most of the time people don't think this. This is rare cases that this has happened to me, but lots of times people are like, you just learned Spanish. The implication is that you just learned Spanish because that's what everyone else does. I mean, that's kind of true, but why is it what everyone else does? It's because it's the most useful, like by orders of magnitude, like I said. The only other language that is really super useful, that is going to be something you run into if you live in the US, the only other language that is, I mean, every language can be useful, maybe depending on the city you live in and whatnot. But if you are, the only other one there's a native speaking population nearby, I guess is the best way to put it, is French. If you go to Quebec, then there is French speaking population there. And that is, Quebec is a pretty big province. I think it's like, 8 or 9 million people. I'm not sure, like 8 or 9 million people, at least 7 or 8 of which are like native French speakers, something like that. It might be blowing up the numbers a little bit, but it's a decent chunk of people that you might be able to run into. In fact, I had in one of my classes, my first year of college, there was a girl that was an athlete studying here on with like an athlete scholarship, studying here with whose native language is French, because she was from Quebec. So that is something that also can be useful. However, beyond that, so French also is sometimes you'll run into French speakers, native French speakers that are from North America. Beyond that, though, it's pretty much just like Spanish speakers, and that's why people learn it, because it's useful. Again, I don't really necessarily care about usefulness too much in overall, but it is that's one reason I don't like the fact that people will shame Americans for learning Spanish. It's like, oh, of course you learn Spanish. Well, I mean, what do you what do you expect, you know? Beyond that, that's one reason that I was like, if people like sort of use that or say that, I get sort of offended. I'm like, I mean, you know, is there, you know, what's wrong with that? It's like a useful language to know. Beyond that, I just find, like, if you're learning any language, obviously it's useful. I don't think there should be like any shaming going on in general. The other thing is, for me personally, I get offended because, like, I personally have personal reasons why I have learned Spanish, actually. My family is not Hispanic. However, about like half of my family speaks Spanish fluently, which is kind of interesting. It is certainly weird, not in the normal situation, but like my dad, he speaks Spanish fluently. My stepmom also speaks Spanish fluently. About like half of my cousins and uncles also all speak Spanish fluently. And the reason for that is because it's kind of interesting. It's sort of a little weird, but it's because my family is Mormon. I was raised Mormon. That's something that maybe not a lot of people might not know. I don't consider myself Mormon, but I was raised Mormon. And with that being said, if you know, so if you are European, you might not actually know about like who Mormons are or whatnot. Even a lot of Americans don't know like who Mormons are and whatnot. But so to sum it up, Mormons are like those people that will oftentimes be like going door to door and trying to convert people. And with that, Mormon missionaries are sent to other countries as basically determined by lottery. Not actually by lottery. Basically, this is one of the weird parts. Essentially, you're told to go where to go in the world to be a missionary by the church body, the central church authorities or whatever. They're like, yeah, you're gonna go here, regardless of whatever like languages you currently know, and so you don't get to choose at all. And that's a whole other story. But essentially, a lot of my family... so another thing with that is that a lot of Mormon missionaries, like probably like over a half of Mormon missionaries, go to Latin American countries because of the fact that the Mormon Church outside of the U.S., its biggest like area where it has a lot of presence or some presence at all, because it's not really super popular anywhere except Utah and surrounding states. But beyond that, Latin America actually has a decent Mormon population. A lot more, basically, I'm pretty sure more than any other, probably more than all the other Protestant denominations combined. Part of that is because a lot of the other Protestant denominations don't really haven't tried to expand to there historically. The other reason being that a lot of, I think there's actually more, the Mormon Church doctrine has a lot more in common with Catholicism than other denominations. It is actually, in a lot of ways, a little more similar. There are a lot of differences as well, but I think that is one of the reasons why that has happened, that there is a decent presence of Mormon Church in Latin America, and because of that, then there's always a need for new missionaries in Latin America. So it happens that a lot of Americans, a lot of missionaries end up going to Latin America. It's just how it goes. And so that being said, a lot of my family has done that. They were missionaries in Latin American countries. So for instance, my dad was a missionary in Guatemala. One of my cousins was a missionary in in Trinidad and Tobago. This is Trinidad and Tobago, right? Yeah, Trinidad and Tobago. where they actually speak, I believe, Dutch and Spanish and English there. So depending on which island you're on or whatever. But he learned Spanish as well as, and there's another one too though. There's like a Creole language actually that he also speaks now. And they missionaries go for 2 years normally, so you have plenty of time to like learn the language, especially if you're using it every day trying to convert people to a religion. You know, it's no wonder that people come back knowing the language as if they've been studying it for years and stuff. So, which is cool. That's one thing I like about that. Even if I'm not Mormon myself, I think you know, that can be useful in that regard. Wait a minute, oh my god! I just put 2 and 2 together. I was like, when Denmark joined the war, I was like, oh, it's probably just because, like, you know, some reason they got pulled in, allied them or something, you know. No, it's actually because Denmark is under Sweden now in a pursuit. That's hilarious. Oh, how the tables have turned. That is so funny. Anyways, that's great. That's actually great. We should destroy Sweden now. What was I gonna say? So, yeah, so my cousin went to Trinidad and Tobago. Another one of my cousins went to Guatemala. Another one of my cousins went to Argentina. My stepbrother, he went to Mexico, to northern Mexico, to Monterrey. And so in general, like, with that being said, it just happened that way where pretty much all my family, all my extended family that have done their Mormon missions have gone to Spanish-speaking countries. So with that being said, you know, of course I'm gonna learn Spanish if I'm gonna learn any language. What other language, like, because that's what makes sense. Like, all my family speaks Spanish. Of course I'm gonna, you know, as a second language for familial reasons. It makes more sense for me to learn Spanish. So I have a couple times that people be like, you know, why are you learning Spanish? It's, you know, that's what everyone does. Well, because, like, my family speaks it. That's like our family second language, sort of. So I kind of keep it in line with tradition. And again, it's because it is the most useful. That is a part of it. That's part of the reason why I started studying Spanish. But beyond that, I just don't really think that there's any reason why you should ever need to shame someone for learning a specific language. I just think that's like one of the silliest. I think that's one of the silliest things ever. Like come on, there's no downside to learning the language. You could learn, you know, I think I talked about this. There was an article, I think I talked about this last recording session. There was an article that came out talking about like a newly discovered language that's spoken by literally 200 people. Even if you learn that language, it's like never going to be useful really in the rest of the world. But it's still a net positive. It's for society and for you personally. It's not like there's no way to spin that as being bad. So I mean, maybe in that case you could say maybe it's a waste of time, but I don't know. I don't think there's really a way to say that it's a waste of time because you're still gaining insight into cultural differences and stuff like that. So with that being said, I don't think that there's really much of a reason to ever have that aspect of shaming someone for another language, you know? So yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit of a rant. Took a whole episode up, basically. But yeah, I don't know. And again, it kind of goes back to the idea that I don't really care necessarily how useful at this point. I did care sort of when I started learning, you know, Spanish, but when I was when I was like 11. But at this point, I don't really, with other languages that I want to learn, I don't really care how useful a language is going to be. I mostly care how interesting is it going to be, and how attracted am I to the language. It sounds kind of weird when you say it like that. And yeah, how cool is it going to be? Like, how much do I like the language and whatnot? And then I sort of go from there, determining like which language do I want to try to learn. I say that like this is something I do frequently. I've done this like twice now beyond Spanish when I decided to learn Italian or start learning Italian, and when I have started to learn Catalan, which again I know, and both of those two I know very little of. But I do plan on doing more. Doing more languages. So yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, and that's why I would rather learn like Dutch over something like French or German, because Dutch interests me more, the history of the region. And if I ever did meet someone who knew Dutch, I would hope that they would be like, you know, like, I would hope that it would make them feel good to know that someone is like, you know, like an American wants to learn their language, because I don't think a lot of like Americans really could even tell you, you know, where Dutch is spoken. And so there's that aspect as well. It's like I want to make a better image for Americans, even if it's just with the one or two people that I might ever meet that are native Dutch speakers and whatnot. But I do hope that is something that I would maybe be able to have an impact on as well. Because I really like when I meet, like, I talked about this last episode, but when I have met like people that are Catalan speakers, and then most of the time they're like, wow, like that means a lot to me, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, you know, I'm glad to hear that, because I really like your language and stuff. And so I find that like a really nice, it's a nice way to connect with people. When you do find people who speak a language that you know that isn't too widely spoken, and you tell them that you speak it, they'll be like, you know, they'll open up to you a lot quicker, because they'll be like, you know, like, wow, this is someone who cares about this language that I speak, that my native language, and I really like that, because it gives you a nice way, it gives you a connection with people that's a lot stronger, I feel, than other connections necessarily that are more superficial. Anyways, I'm mostly just BSing what I'm talking about at this point. I don't know. I don't know nearly enough about languages in general to even be making claims, really. There are basically, like, plenty of people that are, like, European, where it's more the norm in, like, the EU and stuff to learn other languages. Plenty of people there are, like, you know, already know more languages than I'll probably ever know, and they're, like, you know, younger than me a lot of the time. Like, for instance, I don't know if you're watching this, but Alex, one of my pretty long-term viewers now, who is Romanian. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Sorry about that, but in a good way. But Alex, he is Romanian, and he already knows English. He's like, most of the time, the reason I know him pretty well more than other viewers is because he is on the Twitch stream a lot of the time, and he already knows English. I believe he knows a good bit of French. He knows a good bit of Hungarian, being in a part that I think he's said that it's in a part of Romania where there is a large Hungarian minority. So there's a lot of Hungarian speakers. So he knows Hungarian. You know, yeah, he knows a good bit of French, and I think he said I think by now he's started to learn Spanish as well. Like, that's crazy. And I believe, yeah, not to put you on the spot, Alex, but like, I think he's like 15 now or something. That's crazy. That's awesome. So like stuff like that is more the norm in Europe. If you're able to find me, you know, if you're able to find someone in the U.S. who by the age of 15 knows like 4 languages, even if they don't know all of them, you know, super fluently, even if they know just a little bit, if you're able to find someone who is at that level, who is 15, they're either going to be like from a rich family that has private tutors that do that, or they will have lived in Europe and now are in the US, or they are just like 1 in a million, like maybe literally. It's so rare to find anyone. Maybe they went to a language school like from a young age, and again, that would probably go along with the rich thing. It is so insanely rare to ever have anyone who is like that in the US. By that age, that I find it really interesting that it's so impressive to me that European schools and like the European school system is structured like that in a lot of places, at least. Again, I don't want to make blanket statements, but this is a blanket statement in a positive way, though. So I've been very ineffective with this war. It's taken me a lot longer than it should. I probably should have been doing other wars in the meanwhile. Kedah, I would like you to basically fabricate to your heart's content. Oh, you have cores on all that stuff actually. So yeah, that's probably fine then. We should definitely get you to like me a little more since I've gone to war with you a couple times and whatnot. We could also go to war with Ayutthaya though. I mean, I feel like we might as well, right? Do Reconquest now. Might as well. It's gonna be a pretty easy war. Ayutthaya is, if you outnumber them and whatnot, it's not too hard. You just, you know, bottleneck them. Still, whatever. There we go. We should start looking into Brunei as well. Yeah, especially because they don't have any allies right now. Majapahit as well. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff we need to be doing. Should be doing, rather. Alright, Sweden. Anyways, I hope I haven't made a fool of myself talking about stuff like that. Basically, I don't think you should ever, you know, shame someone for learning another language. That'd be like me going to someone in... That'd be like me going up to someone in, like, you know, Spain and being like... Or for instance, going up to someone in Mexico. This is a good example. It'd be like me going up to someone in Mexico and being like, you know, like, why are you learning English? That's so boring. You know, everyone does that. I mean, it kind of doesn't really make sense because English is also the trade language. No, a better example would be like going to someone who lives in Ontario, somewhere in Ontario, and being like, you know, because I'm pretty sure I know from like from having met enough Canadians and whatnot that the main language, the main go-to language instead of Spanish is French there, of course, because that's like their, you know, secondary language or whatever. And so with that being said, a lot of time, you know, so that'd be like going to someone there and be like, why are you learning French? That's so boring. Why don't you learn, like, you know, German or Spanish instead? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why are you shaming them for learning what's probably the most, you know, common second language there, and also just a good language to know in general, you know? Any language is useful to know beyond your own. Oh, and you should also know your own, probably. The way phrasing there kind of didn't make sense, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me when people do that. So England, I'm gonna take the rest of your country. Sorry about that. I'm also gonna take all of your base are belong to us. No, I'm gonna take all of your new colonies that you've been sprouting up everywhere. It's not allowed. It's not allowed, little fellow. Canadian ones, Florida, I don't like. You know, Florida's mine. I like how, I'm pretty sure, let me see, do you have any other colonies? Is this going to be, oh, hey, you do, in Newfoundland. Nice. I think they're actually just going to have like one province left or something like that. Is this their capital now? It is. I think this is their last province. That's actually so good. Oh no, I forgot this doesn't actually count as colonial nation land. That's fine. It's ours anyways. You should start heading up to there. Why is this not... because it's not finished. Also, I love the fact that the colonial nations are going... It's invading... New Flanders is taking over New Holland land. Just like Cuba has gone into Colombia and whatnot. I don't know. It's a mess. I don't really care as long as they're good and they aren't trying to rebel. I think we should go to war pretty soon with Burgundy, but aggressive expansion. I think I've gone way over on time on this video. Yeah, it's been like 30 minutes. Still, it doesn't be that like 37 minute one I did that one time. I don't know. Like again, I just don't think there's ever a reason to shame someone for their language, you know. So, in fact, I think it's always good. I think it's a good idea. Like, congratulate people for when they learn languages and make an effort to learn languages, and whatnot. But I don't know. It is interesting in the U.S. Looking at the language that we offer and stuff that are commonly taught at my university, for instance. I believe we teach 8 or 9 languages. So it's Spanish, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, and I think I'm missing one. That's 7. I think I'm missing one. I think we do. I think there's an 8th one I'm missing. Russian, Italian, German, Japanese, Chinese, Portuguese. That's it. I think Portuguese. I think we actually did teach Arabic, and there wasn't enough people taking it, but no, yeah. So it's it's interesting. And I'm not sure. It's kind of interesting. It depends on the university and stuff, but the thing is with so like for instance in the state I live in, South Carolina, it's really interesting. So obviously the second most spoken language is Spanish. Pretty much in any state in the U.S., I believe that's the case. Spanish is the second most spoken language, literally anywhere in the United States. Any state-wise on a state level. I'm pretty sure. Except maybe, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think Chinese in California beats it. Maybe in San Francisco area. That's what I was thinking about. But California, obviously not, because like San Diego and stuff, LA, so a ton of Hispanic people. But we're gonna go a little longer. This video is gonna be a bonus episode. It's probably the last one I'm gonna do. But like third most spoken language in South Carolina. Well, so most of the South is French, I believe. I think most of like the South is French or whatever. But in South Carolina, it's actually German. And in my high school and stuff, there was a French teacher, quite a few Spanish teachers, a Latin teacher actually, but also a German teacher. And German isn't necessarily too popular to take, but there are some people who take it. And in South Carolina, the reason why actually, it's kind of interesting. One of the reasons why is because there's actually some German industry here. There is a big BMW parts plant in Greenville, South Carolina, pretty close to my university actually, which is one of the reasons that a lot of people actually do take German here at my university. They take it because they're like maybe along with engineering and whatnot, and then they'll like move, maybe go to the BMW plant and then maybe move to Germany at some point if they get high enough in the company. But it's like a good, it's several thousand jobs and stuff that are brought by BMW here. So there's a lot of German speakers, especially in the upstate of South Carolina, because of that and stuff. And so it's kind of interesting that aspect is kind of just by chance, but it is something that is a thing, and I find interesting. Anyways, I should really end this episode. I want to end this war though. You know what? We should just take this as well. Oh my God, Ming is here as well. What are you doing here, Ming? But yeah, I don't know. I love like talking about like language, perceptions of language, stuff like that. I don't know. It's very, very interesting to me. Oh God, game is lagging. Pretty sure it is just because the map isn't covering now. Oh God, yeah. Okay, it's probably good that I'm ending this recording session now. Might restart my computer, let it sit a while, think about what it's done. Next month. There we go. Look at mighty Kedah. That's good. And then once we annex Kedah, we'll have the whole Malacca node. That's awesome. Well, except Brunei. In fact, let's go get Brunei all claimed up here. Yeah, I am gonna end this episode here. Thank you guys for watching. This was a good recording session. I think we got 4 episodes done, whatever. That's pretty good. Thank you guys for watching. Please go and leave a like and subscribe for more. When we come out next episode, I think we're gonna maybe try to focus on Europe a little. Oh, maybe not though. Maybe we'll go to war with France. I don't know. If we can just beat up someone, it'd be good. But we also might just build up a little bit, take over more colonial land and whatnot, because we're kind of like, you know, in a position where we what was I gonna say? We have a lot of vigorous expansion. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.